Hello, in this video I'll show you how to use a utility called EVSPShortcutManager. We'll cover a little bit about Enterprise Vault and its history with SharePoint, and then I'll go through the two main uses of this tool called EVSPShortcutManager. The two main uses of this tool are to convert HTML shortcuts to new style seamless shortcuts, and secondly to do mass recall of data back from Enterprise Vault to SharePoint. Enterprise Vault has been able to work with Microsoft SharePoint for many releases now, but in the beginning when Enterprise Vault archived an item, it left behind a stub that broke various things within SharePoint. These were things like workflows, links which have already been shared with colleagues, and notifications would get triggered after archiving. It also broke the icon, so end users couldn't easily tell what type of item was being shown to them unless they opened it. On this slide, you can see my SharePoint server before anything was archived. And on this slide, you can see the items after they've been archived. And so side by side, you can see the difference. The archived items appear just as shortcuts. All these sorts of issues are in the past, and Enterprise Vault now uses a technique which is termed seamless shortcuts. These were introduced in Enterprise Vault 8 SP3, but administrators had to wait until EV901 for a utility to be able to manipulate existing shortcuts and convert them to the new style. This tool is EVSPShortcutManager, which runs on the SharePoint server. It has a number of uses, and we'll go into those now. For new SharePoint administrators, this isn't something that's particularly of interest, but if you've been archiving SharePoint since the early days, then converting shortcuts is probably something that you should do if you haven't done it already. On this slide, we see an example of the syntax that can be used to scan a whole SharePoint server and report on HTML shortcuts that are found and need to be converted. Running this on the whole server can take a bit of time depending on the number of sites and the number of items across the whole server. As we'll see in the next section, you can target individual sites instead of the whole server. When the command is running, it processes each HTML link style item on the SharePoint location which has been specified, and creates a new item in SharePoint that is a seamless shortcut. Here we see it running now live on my SharePoint server. What this has done here is converted 39 old style shortcuts to new seamless shortcuts. Once it's finished running, you can review the log file. For many reasons, an administrator may wish to perform mass recalls of data which has been archived by Enterprise Vault. For example, an administrator might wish to back out of using Enterprise Vault altogether, or maybe they want to target SharePoint by a different Enterprise Vault environment. To get this data to go back to SharePoint, we can use another command line switch in EVSPShortcutManager, and an example is shown on this slide. It's worth noting that performing a mass recall like this obviously has an impact on the SharePoint environment while data is being read and then written, and also on the EV environment as the data is read from the EV archive. Storage is also something that should be considered. If you originally archived the SharePoint server or site to save space, doing a mass recall is going to lead to all the data being in both EV and SharePoint. Also, note that you can't do the recall if any HTML shortcuts exist. They have to be converted to seamless shortcuts first. The tool will tell you that if you run it with HTML shortcuts still in existence, it can't proceed. Here is the command running in my environment against one of my sites. I can run this command to export all the archive data back to my site in SharePoint. In addition to running this command, I would then manage the archives in EV. Depending on why I'm recalling the data, in this example I might delete all the archives as I no longer need them. In summary then, EVSPShortcutManager is a command line tool, and it's pretty useful and also more importantly, has a report mode option so that you can see what it will actually do before it actually does it. It can convert old style shortcuts to new style seamless shortcuts. You can also use it to do a mass recall of data. I hope that showing you this utility is useful to you. Thank you. Goodbye.